Hello and welcome to Sage's Tabletop Table Talks. I'm Sage, this is my tabletop, and I'm going to talk to you about tabletop role-playing games. Since my last couple videos where I've done like rankings or like specifically like things where I go through bits and pieces of these games, especially these kind of ones that aren't Dungeons and Dragons, they get real popular, so I'm doing it again. Don't worry, I will very quickly probably run out of these kind of ranked tier list, not tier list, rank list things to do. Because honestly, a lot of them I just don't know what to do with them. But anyway, I am going to do one today for you guys. And that is, I am going to take the 11 Pantheons from these two books, Scion Hero, the first edition of Scion Companion, where we still had the Yankee and the European Pantheons. I'm not going to rank I believe it's the Yatas. There's another Pantheon. They released in like a second edition Companion that had more like traditional gods, which, cool, but like that's not the book I have. I'm also not going to talk about the Atlantean Pantheon because they weren't really meant to be player used. But anyway, so these are the 11 Pantheons from those two books. I'm going to kind of rank their Pantheon-specific purviews from worst to best. So I guess we can get started. At the very bottom, there's two at the bottom, and they are so bad. They are at a race to the bottom. Me and my brother actually had a debate on which one we thought was worse. But they are both just... It got to a point where when we have players... Because we played Scion First Edition probably more than any other game outside of Dungeons & Dragons, 3rd Edition, 3.5, Pathfinder 1E. They're all the same game with slight modifications. And yes, Pathfinder 1st Edition is just 3.5 with some updates. It's not a new game. But anyway, but get to the point where we'd bring players in who've never played, and they'd want to play a member of specifically this bottom Pantheon, and we'd just be like, don't. It's useless. They're just bad. And that would be the Aesir. These dudes right here with the shield. The Aesir have the worst Pantheon-specific purview of any of these characters. It is so worthless. Like, you got a point like, I want to play a cool Viking. We're like, don't play a cool Viking. Some of these other ones that are like in the middle, even if some of them are weaker, there's still enough fun there that we could be like, oh yeah, go ahead and play one of those ones. But we told people just don't play the Aesir. Do not play the Norse Pantheon because they are that bad. Their ability is called Jotunblund, which it means giant's blood. And the idea is that because the Aesir and the Vanir are descended from giants, they can do... So in Scion, giants can feed their blood to humans and create thralls. And the Aesir have a similar thing. But what it does is let you take a point of damage, spend a little bit of legend, which is like your mana pool, and you can give animals or mundane humans very, very small boosts of power. So like at the first stage, you can cut yourself, give an animal, like a dog or a cow, some of your blood, and it gets a whole 1 point of strength or 1 point of stamina. Now, what does that mean in game terms? How the game mechanic works is you roll a pool of dice. Generally speaking, you'll roll a stat plus a skill. So if your strength stat is 2 and you're trying to do, like, let's say, climb a wall, and your athletics is 3, you have 2 strength, 3 athletics, and you roll 5 dice. And anything that's a 7, 8, or 9 is considered a success. If you roll double zeros, it's considered 2 successes. So what this does is it grants one additional die to strength or stamina for, it's like a day maybe. I don't remember exactly how long. It's not a long period of time. It gets longer as it levels up. But that's not even giving them an extra like point in. It's giving them the ability to possibly roll a 7 to 10 on a 10-sided die. So like a 70% chance that they will actually get one extra success to overcome their challenge. And at level 2, you can give it to a human, a mundane human. You cannot give it to an ally or a Titan spawn, anything like that. It has to be a mundane human who already is so far at Scion level, so far beneath the average character that it's a joke to give them one extra die in stamina. But the one, it does make them like perfectly loyal to you. One of the things that really hurts it is you can't use it on, like, if you take, like, creature as a, gift, because you get gifts that are, like, weapons and, you know, followers and guides and you know, creatures that grant you, powers or things. But, like, let's say you decide you want your character to be able to ride, like, a dragon. Well, you can't give this power to a dragon. I think it keeps going up and up and up. The first, because each of them go from 1 to 10. The first 8 just do this. At like level 5, you can finally give them an epic point, which is an automatic success. And it's so useless. At level 9, you can turn a human into a giant. I mean, yeah, they're loyal to you. You gotta give them blood every 3 months or they just kind of wander off and do their own thing. And now, mind you, you turn them into like a most basic giant, which is like the enemies you fought when you were like, I'm going to say level. It's your legend stat, but level is easier to kind of understand. When you're like level 3 and 4, you're fighting giants. And now you're level 10, and you're giving them... I got cats fighting. Giving them... enemies that you fought at level 3. Like, it's so useless. And at level 10, their capstone ability is the ability to use their blood to purify humans who are giant thralls. So if a human is a thrall to a giant, you can wound yourself, burn up like 10 points of legend, and then you can remove the influence of giant's blood from a human. Now, doing so also removes their any stat boost they have, so they just become a normal human again, which, okay, fine. Here's the thing. It only works on giant influence. It doesn't send ghosts out of their body. It doesn't, you know, break any form of Scion or divine mind control or any kind of demonic possession. It only works on giants. That is so useless. And like, I guess there might be a point where you could use it once or twice, but and anyone out there who says that they found a way to make Jotun blood work in their campaign, you're a liar. Like, I'm more than willing to hear like usefulness of some of these other ones, but no, you didn't. It's useless. It is literally completely and utterly useless as a power. There is no point where it gives you any kind of substantial benefit compared to the power level where you get that ability. So, yeah, no, the Jotun Blunt is so bad. We literally would tell new players not to play Viking characters because they were shitty. Like, thematically, we're like, just play Irish warriors. Like, they're close enough thematically. I mean, I know they're not, but, like, considering the pantheons. So yeah, that's the next one up is the Aztec Pantheon. That dude right there. Once again, pretty fucking bad. I've ranked it slightly above the Norse because there's actually 2 abilities that can be useful. But their big ability is this. It's themed around the Aztec ability is called Itzli, I believe. Itzli. I am no means a scholar of dead languages, so what the hell is my dog doing? I'm in no way a scholar of dead languages, so I don't know how a lot of these are pronounced. The pronunciation guide I saw, I believe, said it was called Itzli. So, but the idea is that you can damage yourself, so you can trade health for legend. You can trade hit points for mana. The big problems there is at the low levels where that's useful, losing out on a couple of, because when you take damage, you lose dice to your skill rolls. Losing that dice is actually really harmful, and as it gets higher levels, you can't do enough damage to replace, like, by the time you're level 12, you have 144 legend. So trading hit points for like a handful of legend just isn't that useful. They have a whole two abilities that are useful. The first one is, at one point, they can sacrifice a downed enemy's heart to restore some of their legend. It's not useful in battle because it's slow and it removes your like ability to defend yourself. But you could get a quick boost to some of your legend back post-battle if you wanted to. Just get a quick little boost back. And they have an ability where they can take a down foe. And once again, it's kind of a slow ability, so its ability is somewhat limited. But they can eat a down foe's heart and temporarily increase their legend score. Well, effectively their level. Once again, extremely limited in how useful it is. But, Cricket, get down. It's extremely useful, but there's a couple points where it could be useful. Because there's some abilities, a lot of abilities only work on characters with a legend stat less than yours, so you could boost your legends to temporarily give you that edge. A lot of abilities add your legend to your die pool, so you can give yourself 1 to 3 extra dice with this ability. It can be useful. However, I can say that they have one ability that lets them gain legend based on their worshippers committing blood sacrifices to them. And how the hell do you mechanize that ability? Like, that requires so much DM fiat to say, like, oh yeah, one of your guys sacrificed his heart up, the heart of his wife up to you. You gain 30 but like, how do you as DM codify that as a rule? Player constantly has to ask, hey, did anybody make a sacrifice to me lately? And now the DM has to come up with something about yes, no, maybe. And their capstone ability lets you sacrifice a relative, like let's say one of your children, to gain a huge boost to your legend pullback. Wow, that is... Congratulations, White Wolf. You just got to get the edge in there somewhere, don't you? Just pointless edge. The big thing that other thing I think that makes this, the Aztec, Pantheon-specific power slightly better than the Norse one, and I kind of want to make a rant about this Norse one now, is that at least the idea of blood sacrifice is thematically accurate to the Aztecs, because, blood sacrifice was something that they engaged in. And a lot of ancient cultures engaged in blood sacrifices, but, whatever. But the Jotun blood, the idea of a Viking sharing his blood with a fucking cow, like the idea of sharing your blood, like I know it's not exactly the same as blood brotherhood, but like in the Norse, like Viking culture, the idea of sharing your blood meant that you and the person you became blood brothers with were family now. Like you might as well have come from the same parentage. Then, that's how that worked. Like, so the idea that you share your blood with a fucking pig is so stupid and like disrespectful almost to that. Like, it's just idiotic and thematically off point. Scion's second edition, their ability is about fate manipulation, which, yeah, fate is a big thing in the Viking kind of culture, but, like, you're bound by fate. You don't manipulate fate. And so I don't particularly like that part of it. I think you could do something like a blood brother pact where you can become blood brothers with Scions and get benefits and like things like that. But I don't know. My idea was to use runestones with the Norse gods, but whatever. But yeah, at least the Aztec is thematically on point. The Jotun blood is so thematically off point, it's embarrassing. But up next, so the bottom two and the top three are pretty powerful. The next, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The next 6, honestly, there's a lot of ways you could kind of shuffle these around. I have my thoughts, but like, I could hear an argument for like the Irish god, the Enoch, to be higher on the list than I have it, which is the next one. The Irish gods, the Enoch, which is ability called Enoch. Enoch? Enech. Once again, I don't speak Gaelic. I mean, I barely speak English, if we're being completely honest. But yeah, so I can hear an argument for them being useful. So maybe like, oh, I think they're way more useful than these other pantheons. Oh yeah, I gotta show you the Enoch ability. I like the little harp here. I think the harp is adorable. The little cauldron of... Is it Lou's cauldron? I'm not looking it up. There's Lou's spear right there. I don't remember whose cauldron is. Dog does? Yeah. I think they have a cute little symbol there. But yeah, I don't remember what Enoch meant, because I used to know. Anyway, the powers are actually pretty good. One of the big ones they get, it's called, like, Brema's Eye. And it basically is a scan spell, which is kind of cool. They have an ability, Spotting Spirit, which, like, is kind of like a boost ability. I mean, a lot of their powers come off very bardic, where they kind of, like, give power boost. And they have Bard's Tongue, which lets them, like, use their virtue stat as an enhancement to other players' physical stats. Like, for example, you could use your courage stat to enhance their, like, strength stat. They also, Bard's Tongue has a really cool ability. They can drain an opponent's willpower. Now, what is willpower? It is like a secondary mana pool, but you get up to 10. It's based entirely on your virtue levels. But you get up to 10, and they are extremely valuable resource. Losing willpower is so detrimental to activating like the really high-end powers in this game. So you can burn out a player's willpower. It's also used if you attempt to like go against one of your virtues, like if your virtue is courage, and you attempt to run away from a fight, you can like go into these like weird White Wolf edgelord bullshit, like mental breakdowns, and willpower helps you negate that. But if you burn through your opponent's willpower, you can lock them into a situation where you can almost force them to play like the way you want. Virtue, you can force them into playing by their virtues instead of being able to burn their way out of it. The capstone is pretty good. It's called Beyond the Ninth Wave. You pick a purview you have access to, like animal, fire, death. And while you activate Beyond the Ninth Wave, that purview cannot harm you. Like, if you have animal, even magical beast, like, ignore your presence. If you pick death, you can't die while you're in the Ninth Wave. So it's really, actually a powerful ability. Sadly, half their abilities are based on a Geas, G-E-A-S. Geas, I'm going to pronounce it Geas. Correct me if I'm wrong. And it has to do with, like, taboo and making quests and things, and it's just kind of shitty. It doesn't really do anything that useful. And literally, 5 of their 10 abilities are based around these Geas. And, like, to get those cool abilities, you're paying, because you have to buy, normally when you get powers, your Pantheon power, your purview powers like Animal Fire. You pick and choose. Like, oh, you can skip Fire 1, get Fire 2, whatever. But the Pantheon specifics, you have to do an order. So the Geas are just experience points taxes to get these cool abilities you want. And half your class abilities being just an experience level, a feat tax in order to get what you want is really just a shitty way of kind of building things up. It's not. I don't like it. Like I said, the powers that are good are good. It's just these Geas are just a waste of experience points to me. Next up is the Egyptian one, which is Heku. Heku level 1 is so fucking useless. How it works is you gain legend, you gain a point of legend every time someone mentions something cool you've done. How in the fuck are you supposed to mechanize that ability? How are you supposed to codify an ability like that? Like, it is going to be a constant trade-off of the player and the DM arguing about whether somebody told the story about that time you headbutted that fucking, mobster who was slapping around his mall. Like how do you possibly use that in your ability? It's so fucking stupid. Like, I don't know. The level 2 and 3 abilities are pretty useful. It allows you to stun lock people who can see you. They have an ability called Heart Scarab, which lets you preserve corpses. Not really that useful in most situations. This isn't D&D where, like, you have to preserve a corpse to drag it back to the station. Generally speaking, if someone dies, you can either just resurrect them or they're just dead. Like, there aren't a whole lot of rules about how much of a corpse you need to cast resurrection on someone. And sometimes it is just a matter of stomping your ass down, bitch slapping Hades, and telling them that you want your friend back. Like, in the Odyssey, just be like, hey, bitch, give me my dude back. They can pass virtues off to players or virtue extremities off to others. The passing virtues off is not bad. The virtue extremities is a terrible, stupid fucking mechanic. As like I was talking about the willpower earlier, basically, if you go against one of your virtues too badly, like, once again, running away, if your virtue is courage, you have, like, a mental breakdown, and you're effectively out of the game for... And I've talked about that when I reviewed Scion 1E. Some of them where it's like, for 1 month, you just sit in your house and draw pictures of, like, death and gore and violence, which honestly would get you, like, 5 stars on a lot of, like, fucking letterboxd reviewers, honestly. But, yeah, I hate the virtue exterminator mechanic. They have the ability to pin someone by their shadow, which is kind of a neat ability. Where, like, somebody walks in, like, you can, like, they're held by their shadow. It's a cool ability, but it requires, like, a week of setup to build this, like, fucking trap. Like, you're fucking Fred Jones from Scooby-Doo. It's like, oh boy, I sure do love this stupid fucking trap. So it's extremely conditional. They have actually kind of a cool healing spell that lets them, soak their bandages in their blood and use it, like, if you use it like a bandage, it gives them heal, and it actually can heal aggravated damage, which is, like, extremely difficult there's 3 damage, bashing, which is, like, bumps and bruises, lethal, which are, like, cuts and broken bones, and aggravated, which is, like, damage to the idea of the self. If you max out your aggravated damage, lose all your aggravated health, you basically just stop existing. And it's extremely difficult to heal, and this ability can heal, but it requires you to, like, do this ritual for, like, 4 weeks to create a single band-aid to do it, and it's like, so fucking... It takes so much time to do this, like, the whole game has to just stop for a month so you can like soak your bandage in this bandage in your own blood. It's just really silly. Their capstone ability is called Ren Theft. It lets them basically take complete control over someone. It does not work on Titans. It does not work on animals. And it requires a full year observation to attempt. You have to watch it, like, you don't have to, like, sit there and, like, shadow him forever, but, like, you gotta keep tabs on a dude for 365 fucking days before you can even attempt to use this ability, which requires an opposed roll. And if you fail to do it, you have to you have to observe him for another year. This is... So back in the like 1970s and 80s, there's this idea of like these games running on like this insane time schedule where like the idea would be like characters would have like months and months of downtime where they don't do anything. And that's so fucking stupid because it's just boring. There are people out there who still advocate for this, and cool. I don't really give a fuck about what my character's doing in the 4 months between adventures. Downtime rules are just fucking boring. Like, I'm an adventurer, I'm a hero, I'm a, crusader. I want to do that shit. I don't give a fuck about the fucking inn that I'm fucking playing instruments in order to, like, fucking make ends meet. Like, this top tier Haku ability requires 1 year of game time to make a single check in order to see if this ability works. And honestly, the Voodoo have an ability super similar that doesn't require 1 year of fucking observation to use. But that's kind of the whole thing with Haku, is it's just powerful abilities with such stupid limitations that makes them very, very useless. Up next would be the Celestial Bureaucracy. It's actually kind of one of my favorite ones to play with. Oh shit, I'm sorry, I forgot to show you the Egyptian god. Egyptian gods. It's the little triangle there. Anyway, the Chinese, the Celestial Bureaucracy, which would be this yin-yang with the dragon. Because, dragons, yin-yangs, and the trigrams, that's all we need about knowing about, like, Chinese religion, right? The Celestial Bureaucracy. China's almost the opposite of Haku, though, honestly. Like, it's a lot of useful abilities that aren't crazy broken, that aren't crazy powerful. They can give, one of the things they can do is give a Scion an effective level boost for one of their abilities, which is useful. If an opponent tries to attack them with something, they can negate it if they're taking a guard action. Though it's actually really hard if they don't already have the power. And while it's a cool ability, a lot of abilities don't directly affect Scions. They'll affect the world around it, like a shadow one lets you pull items out of things. There's a fire one that lets you observe through fire. There's a wind one that lets you fly. There's a wind one that or a moon one that lets you observe from from an eagle-eye view an area. So, like, you're not directly using them on the Scion. I guess you could argue that they're in the area of effect. They could do it, but they can merge boons, which is cool but not useful. Like, for example, if they have Shadow and Fertility, they could do a thing where instead of creating a field of flowers, they can create a field of shadows. And a lot of the shadow abilities require, like, areas of shadows to use, so it's not that it's useless, it's that it's actually really, like, thematically a fucking cool ability. But its usefulness requires a lot of setup and fiddly bits to play with. One of the ones I actually really like is they can burn some of their legend to give any action they have range. So, for example, they can do a melee attack at range. So they can do, like, fucking Kamehamehas, which is kind of cool. Or anything that requires a touch attack, they can do at a range. The big example they use in the book is grappling at a range. Like, use the key hand to pin a guy down. It's cool, but once again, the limitation of it is useful, or I won't say limitation. It's extremely useful, but it's not really that. I mean, it's fucking Mage Hand, basically. Like, that's a fucking spell wizards get at level 1. A little more powerful than Mage Hand, but... their final ability lets them reshape anything. Useful but not powerful. The target has to be willing, so you can't use it to make, like, a Titan spawn into a frog. They can do things like alter, they can alter god stats. They can alter their abilities, alter some of their skills, but they can never make them more powerful than they were, which makes sense. They can make them weaker than they were. Not sure how often that would be useful, but hey, you know, hard to say. It has a lot of, uses, like you can just change their appearance, you can alter some of their like Pantheon specific epic attributes, which is kind of cool. But the fact that the target has to be willing means that it really does limit a lot of its usefulness. It's not very useful in combat. I'm very entertained with my cats fighting off camera. Sorry. Up next, Loa, which their ability is Cheval, which is... And one of my viewers is going to be mad because I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Cheval, and it's horse. It has a lot to do with possession. At early levels, it is really fucking powerful. They can see through the eyes of anyone, like within their, if they have a picture of someone, you know, the idea of the voodoo doll and that kind of stuff, or like a piece of hair or whatever, they can look through their eyes. And then they can manipulate their, move through them so they could use this individual to enter a building, to, you know, okay, so they're inside of a building, I can use it, I believe it's called Red as Hands, to force them to come in and unlock the building so I can get inside. Like I said, very powerful. The first one's a very powerful scrying tool. Now they only work on characters with powers levels less than them. Where kind of I was talking about the Aztec ones where they can eat someone's heart and boost their legend, their level kind of thing. They can do, but like, yeah, they can read mind. They can read, once again, if they have this thing to do it, they can read someone's minds. And it's really cool. It's a little limited. They're very, very much like a D&D enchanter or a D&D diviner kind of mixed together. Really cool. They have the ability to turn someone into a zombie, and much like D&D, it sounds cool. Like, oh man, I can make an army of zombies, but zombies suck. They're super fucking weak. Not really useful. Especially when it's like a power, like power 6, 7, something like that ability. Oh, there's our voodoo guys right there. The snake, I love the snake. Dembala the snake. But their capstone power lets them use their powers on gods and titan spawns. So now you can just fucking possess a god. They have one that's kind of neat, I like. I can't remember the names of all of them. But where they can, like, take one of the people, like, you know, they can use their abilities on, and, like, suck them into their own body. So, like, instead of them, Cheval, like a horse, riding someone else, their followers, they can force their followers to ride them. And it's kind of... I don't know how useful that ability is, but I just like the idea of, like, fucking Chompy and the girls just swallowing someone and putting them inside of you for a while. And it's such a silly ability. I love it. Once again, usefulness, not as much, but hey. Okay. The next two probably need to be reversed. However, I'm going to make a point for the next one. For the one after this one. This one, so... Scion Companion I have has the World at War, where you have World War II pantheons, where you have America and European pantheons. So there's a European pantheon right there. The European pantheon, it's called Civitas, and it's about teamwork. So So like one early abilities, they can share ammo as long as a big thing they do is share supplies. As long as anyone in the party has supplies, everyone has a party. As long as one person has a clip of bullets, everyone has ammunition. And it doesn't even matter. It's not like you have to have like 9mm ammunition. When I can have 9mm ammunition. That guy's got an AK-47. My bullets will still transfer to him. God powers, whatever. They can do things like create distractions for targets, for their allies. A lot of their abilities allow them to just kind of let players use within the group the highest stat, skill, virtue, etc. of the group. So everyone acts as the strongest. Everyone's the fastest. They can pull their hit points into a single pool so that basically an attack on one, if a character happens to be a little squishy and they get, shot in the head, they still have like that mass pool of hit points. So as long as no one is ever fallen unless it's a TPK, you will be at your party's, your entire party will be standing as long as you have hit points in this pool. The last two are all for one and one for all. And no, it doesn't have anything to do with giving your hair to a small boy in order to give them superpowers. Actually, kind of does, but that's neither here nor there. But what the one for all allows one person in the party to kind of act as a central fulcrum for the entire party. So, like, I can give allies my virtues, my epic stats, my epic abilities, and I can communicate with them telepathically. And all for one, I might have this backwards. All for one lets you take superpowers, take quirks from other people, and transfer them to yourself and others. And one for all lets you pass down in superhuman strength, speed, and durability to small children as long as they eat your hair. But in Scion, all for one or one for all, I don't remember which one's which. Basically, the party is just peak. They all communicate telepathically. They all share resources. But whichever party member has the highest strength stat, every party member now has that strength. Whoever has the highest dexterity now has that dexterity. Whoever has the highest skill rank. So, like, if my character has 5 ranks in Brawl, every single character in the party now functions as though they have 5 ranks in Brawl. If your character has, 10 wits and, 8 epic wits, every single member of the party functions as though they had 10 wits and 8 epic wits. It is such a fucking crazy powerful ability. It is really cool and really powerful. And it probably deserves to outrank the American Pantheon. But I'll get to the American in a minute. Other than just America rules and Europe drools. Hey, Europe, how's that free healthcare going for you? Guess what? I can't afford to go to the doctor. But I have guns, goddammit. Yeah, next one is the American Pantheon. Which is called Industry. Industry has a lot of cool powers. They have an ability where they, no matter what, they always have a tool they need on hand. If they're repairing a car, they always have a torque wrench. They always have whatever piece of equipment they need. One of my favorites is their level 4 ability, which is called Gremlins, which is exactly what it sounds like. You remember that old Twilight episode where William Shatner is poorly acting about a gremlin on the wing? There's something on the wing. Yeah. Some Scion sent that to kill William Shatner to try to save us from the garbage that was Star Trek, the original series. The Next Generation, best Star Trek, fight me. But yeah, it's a really cool, powerful ability. The idea of gremlins sabotaging machines, well, you can now use that to sabotage enemy machines. You know, they have like the ability, they have some abilities that just really aren't that great, like assembly line, which lets you build things faster. They do have an ability, work smarter, that if you're taking a course of action, it automatically shrinks it to the minimum amount of time possible to take that action. Very cool. However, America's capstone ability is called the Project. Here's what it does. You create a small silver orb that rolls around at everybody's feet. In 5 ticks, in a flash of light and a boom that shakes the heavens, you do aggravated damage to everybody in the area. You literally drop a divine nuke on the targets. You summon a god fat boy to drop on people. And I don't know how you cannot think that is one of the most insanely stupid cool abilities in Scion. Is it limited in use? Yes. But you fucking drop a nuke on people. That is ridiculous. So the next 3 at the top of the list are extremely powerful, and I could see some arguments about changing them. I still say that the one at the top, I don't think anyone could make an argument that it could be, but I'm willing to hear you out. But next up is the Indian Pantheon. That dude right there. Kind of a boring symbol, honestly. I'm not super fond of it. I think they could have added a little more spice to it, but, you know, it is what it is. I cannot remember their ability. Samsara. Once again, I'm sorry, I don't speak Hindi, so I'm probably pronouncing this shit wrong. Samsara has some fucking crazy powerful abilities. Kriya, Kriya. So if you fail a roll, you can roll. I believe it's your. I cannot remember your exact roll. You make a skill roll, and for every 2 successes on the skill roll, you get re-rolls out of it. So I fail a roll. I use my Kriya. I roll. If I get 4 successes, I can now attempt to re-roll that twice. It does, however, lock you out of doing legend, because you can spend legend points to re-roll failed rolls. It locks you out of attempting that, which does suck a little bit. But it's a fine trade-off, I guess. The thing is, it's free. Anytime you fail a roll, you can attempt Kriya. It's especially good if the roll doesn't really matter that you failed. It's just something that would help. Because, like, okay, it doesn't matter, but I'll go ahead and give it a couple of re-rolls anyway. But yeah, anytime, for free, every time you fail a roll. Then one of the most insane abilities is called Karma. Anytime a DM rolls behind the DM screen, for any reason, you get to look at what he rolled. So you can keep the DM from punching rolls, and the DM has to tell you why he rolled. That is absolutely absurd. That's literally like the second ability. Just DM's like, okay, hey, what'd you roll? What? Let me see. Hey, you rolled 5 successes. What were those 5 successes for, huh? What was it? What did you do? What were you doing? Let's see if anybody fate bound you. Hey guys, I got 5 successes on a fate bound roll. Like, I don't know. Like, it almost makes DMing unfunctioning. Luckily, I only had one player ever play an Indian, and they never really used the Karma ability. I think they just forgot about it, honestly. They were a fairly new player. So, I'd have to deal with that as a DM. Pratyave lets them burn a willpower to use any ability used on them back at the caster. This is absurd. And this is their level 3 ability. I spend 1 willpower, and if you use, let's say, Levian's Fury on me, which lets you throw a lightning bolt at a target. That's one of the Sky abilities. I can just use a willpower and be like, alright, I'm going to throw a lightning bolt back at you. Okay, Levian's Fury is a bad one because you can do a bounce back and forth with Levian's Fury, but, like, let's say you used an epic strength, like a crushing grip, to grapple a guy and put him in a chokehold. You can then be like, okay, I'm going to use that ability back on you when I escape my grapple roll. Or if somebody tries to read your mind, you can then attempt to read their mind. Or, honestly, you could use this on I just now realized you could use this on an ally. So if they do something that buffs you, you can just throw up that buff back at them. That Bard's fucking ability that the Irish gods have that let them, like, the Bard's tongue that let them... Holy crap, you could just throw that back. Holy shit, that is crazy powerful. One of the things they can do is they can lay down on the ground for a round, a tick, or I think a round, so 8 ticks, to give themselves a defense boost. Not that great. Bava is kind of a slightly... It's really useful. It lets you pull items out and make new items out of thin air. It's very similar to the Shadow ability, but it's a little higher rank. A little more versatility than what the Shadow one can do, but I don't know. I don't... It's still useful. Vidya can force a target to forget some of their powers. So you can blast them, and based on successes, you can force them to forget some of their epic purview abilities and knacks and boons. At the level you get it, they have so many that it's not super hindering, but you can just burn out an ability that is super annoying to you, like, let's say, self-assistic well-being that lets them ignore attacks they don't see coming. Once again... in an area, they can just, like, stop people from dying for a while. The level 9 ability, if they die, they can sacrifice 2 levels, 2 actual points of legend, their actual, like, level legend, and just come back to life. Yeah, they're weaker now, but, like, you just decide that you're not gonna die today. And their capstone ability is one of my favorites in the entire game. They can, if they spend 24 hours of meditation, remove themselves from fate's bindings. They no longer exist for a number of days equal to the amount of successes they rolled on their check. So for like 3 months, your character could just no longer exist. So I love this, because this ability, basically, because honestly, as somebody who's played high-level Scion campaigns, I relate. This ability just lets the player be like, you know what? I don't want to play anymore. See you guys. And you walk out of the fucking game. Just like, you know what? At the point where we have fucking Legend 12, I just don't want to play anymore. And you just can fucking leave the game. I can't blame them. I really can't. Scion's at its most fun when it's at its low levels. Once you get like halfway through the demigod levels, the game falls apart and it's almost unfunctional. So yeah, once you reach level 11 as an Deva, you can just decide you're done playing and walk out of the game and be like, screw you guys, I'm doing it. Up next, the Japanese pantheon, the Amatsukami. What's their ability called? Tsukumogami. Their first level ability is one of the most useful abilities in the game. I had a player. I love this dude, and like this is one of my favorite Scion stories of all time. So just kind of walking around, he was like, okay, he didn't forget the ability, but for some reason in his head, it's had a legend cost. The ability is called the Unquiet Spirit. You go up to an object, and you can just have a conversation with it. It costs nothing to do. You just walk up to a door, and you can just have a conversation with the door. The things they say is that the spirits are generally speaking uninterested in things that aren't directly related to them. But, like, once he found out had no cost, almost any bit of information gathering was done using the Unquiet Spirit as opposed to, like, talking to people. And my favorite stories, they were tailing a guy, and the trail went cold at an airport. And and my friend was like, a lot of people have conversations in bathrooms, washing their hands. So he went to a toilet in the bathroom and was like, yes, feed me your poop. And he's like, hey, did you happen to overhear this dude talking about, and, I had him roll charisma plus presence check or something, just to see if he could get the toilet to remember. And the toilet, he rolled amazing, because they were like Legend 5, Legend 6 at this point. And the toilet was like, oh, yes, I remember. He said he was getting on flight 207A. Now, please, feed me your poop. So he's like, all right, zip. Because the objects that you interact with want to do what they were built to do. So a toilet wants you to shit in it. And it was kind of weird, because the party was kind of split. Half the people felt really uncomfortable that this toilet was begging to be shat in, and the other half thought it was just kind of funny and like, well, yeah, obviously a toilet wants to have you shit in it. Like, that's literally its entire purpose, is to have people shit in it. Oh, it was so funny. Like, and it's literally one of my favorite stories about Scion ever, is the feed me your poop story. But, like, and then at higher levels, you can actually actively ask the spirit to keep an eye on things. So, like, you could go to a door and be like, hey, door, if Stormy Daniels walks through here, let me know. And the door of the Trump Plaza would be like, yeah, sure, dude, whatever. And then later you can ask it. And then, of course, you get the ability to communicate over distances eventually with this power. And at level 3, you can just boost the power of an object. You can just be like, hey, Steve, your broadsword got an extra 3 dice of the attack now. Just fuck it, why not? Like I said, this is such a crazy powerful. And they can summon any spirit that they know to talk. Like I said, with them in any range. At level 5, they can like do origami objects and throw them out and make them like fucking Ant-Man. Some use is okay. It's basically the shadow one that lets you pull items out again. While limited in use, they can convince a relic that they are the rightful owner for a short period of time. There are situations where this is very, very useful. At level 9, they can cast animate objects, so they can just make their sword fight for them while they sit on the sidelines drinking tea. So, their final ability lets them push Kami, lets them push an object spirit out of an object. Now, what does that mean? That means, at level 10, you can walk up to Zeus and push the spirit of his Thunderbolt out of his Thunderbolt. So now, Zeus's Thunderbolt no longer has access to the Sky Purview. You can then take that Ronin spirit and throw it into your buddy's fucking trench coat. So now his trench coat literally has the power of Zeus's Thunderbolts. I don't even know, can't even describe how fucking insane that power is. Like, the Japanese pantheon would almost rule the world with the ability to just steal other people's It does require an opposed check, so like, it would be hard to do against Zeus, but you could. You could just steal the magic from Zeus's Thunderbolt. You could just take the enchantments from Thor's hammer. Like, you can just do that when they're at their top tier ability. Their whole top tier ability is just fuck you everybody else. A top pick I have is obvious, and if you haven't figured out which pantheon this is yet, it is the only major world pantheon that you would see in these kind of mythological games that I haven't talked about yet, and that would be our Greek buddies. Their ability is called Arete. You pick a skill, and you get logarithmically growing, exponentially growing extra dice in that skill. 1 dice, 2 extra dice, 4 extra dice, 8 extra dice, 16 extra dice in that skill. So it means you pick a skill, and this costs nothing. Nothing to do. And you can take it multiple times, meaning you can use this ability on 3-4 skills if you want. Well, this means you want to be good at, sword fighting. You can just give yourself an extra, I think it was the top out at 46 extra dice. There's 46 extra dice that no other Pantheon has the ability to match with of skill rolls. Now, first of all, you're rolling 46 extra d10 on top of everything else. So it's mechanically just a nightmare to use, and it literally just lets you as a Greek player roll, 77 dice and force everybody to sit there and watch you count like some fucking main character, because as a Greek god you're the main character. That's just all there is to it. And it's so boring, and it's lame, but it's so fucking powerful. It's why in the second edition, they just completely rewrote Arete and their abilities now transformation. Because every fucking Greek story involves either a god getting pissed at someone for being better than them and turning them into, like, a fucking cat or something. Or one of the gods turning into, like, I don't know, a fucking goose and raping a woman. Because that's what fucking Greek gods did. Like, that's why there's so many fucking heroes in Greek mythology, because Zeus just cannot keep his fucking cock in his pants, and also turns into like fucking like snakes and shit when he does it. I don't know. And then the other thing that Greek gods do is, hey, guess what? I beat you in a tapestry weaving contest, and Athena's like, yeah, well, you're a fucking spider now. That's what you get for being better than me. Yeah, it's boring and stupid, and it's lame, and it's overpowered, and that's it. So anyway, like I said, if you guys let me know in the comments if you've played Scion First Edition, if you think that my ranking's a little off, because like I said, I'm outside of the bottom two, the middle six and the top three, I think could like be played around with a little bit. Or if you think there's any powers that you think sound cool, by all means, let me know if you think these powers sound cool, because like, use them in your own fucking like supers game, because some of these powers are just really fucking silly and fun. But anyway, I will catch you guys next time, and I don't have a cool sign off. Bye, everybody.